Hi guys, and welcome back to the pod. I'm glad you guys are joining me again as I continue to share a story that changed my whole life. And I'm glad in order to continue to do this because it's not easy to share, obviously, but I just want to keep going until I get to where I am right now. This is like a trip back to the past, but moving towards the present. And today I want to focus on a trip that I took back home. So I don't know if I mentioned early on, I'm from the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I've moved to the US when I was about 14, 13, 14. Yeah. And I never gone back ever since. I probably went back in 2021, and that was the trip that I'm about to talk about today. And that was primary reason we went back is because my sister was getting married. So it was kind of a big day, and I couldn't miss it, despite my situation, despite what I was going through. I don't know, but I managed to get there. I managed to get there by the grace of God. And the trip was a success. I arrived safe and sound, and everything was, I mean, it was like seeing all the things I used to see during my childhood as an adult, and you can imagine how that feels. That feels pretty good. Even though I wasn't feeling like myself, I recognized some of the parts. And honestly, for me, I think that trip was like a jolt to my memory. It's like it just kickstarted everything. It just kickstarted everything I had lost, everything I had forgotten about myself. Because I was fighting, it was right there that I realized I was fighting a mental battle. So, mental battle is just eating you. I mean, any mental illness is just there to eat you up from the inside, to make you forget about who you are, to make you believe the lies that you're not who you are, and things like that. And going back home was a blessing in disguise. And I remember just not wanting to go, but I got to go. And I went back home, saw my family, saw some of my childhood friends, so childhood cousins, aunties and uncles. It was beautiful to see. But obviously, my siblings were the one that noticed that there was something wrong with me. And they were asking me questions about, like, the question that they usually ask me, whether it was about school, sports, or anything else. And they were realizing that I wasn't really picking up. And that's when they noticed that, okay, there's something going on here. And everything leading to the wedding, I was not aware of much, but I do remember just seeing my sister, seeing my brother-in-law, seeing my all the people that were gathering for the wedding. And apart from that, everything was a little blurry. It was still a little blurry, but I just decided to just go with the flow, Whatever was going on, I was just following. I was not 100%. I can remember. I had trouble walking, still had trouble speaking, still had trouble just doing my regular hobbies. And it was right there that I felt the power of God, the mighty hand of God for the very first time. Um, the wedding got passed and everything went well. Thanks be to God. My sister got married. We celebrated. We ate. And now it was time to go back home. And just a few nights before going back home, my pastor, from back home, had prayed over me and prayed over me, anointed me with oil and all that. And I went back home, ignoring everything that happened. I was like, oh man, I've people have prayed over and over, and nothing's changing. I lost faith anyway. I was like, oh man, I say all type of things to God. I said all things that I could not say right now, and I was like, man, I was at the verge of giving up. And I remember it was a quiet night. I remember I was sleeping like I usually sleep, and yeah, I, that's where I actually started to sleep when I went back home, which is kind of surprising because when I went back home, for some reason, I was able to sleep and to literally enjoy a full night's sleep, because I remember I was not sleeping at all. I was either going up early, going up during the middle of the night, and that was just the standard. And right there in the Congo, I was sleeping peacefully, which is okay. Yeah, which is like a surprise for me. But I did all that throughout my whole time there, and that one night, I will never forget that one night. As I was sleeping, I felt a huge, like I say, huge. I felt like it was an animal grabbing my whole head. Like literally covering up my whole head. And I was like, what is that? I thought that something was in my room, or like a wild animal just came and like grabbed my head. And I was like, I wake up and I look around, there was nothing around me. And there was nothing around me. I'm like, okay, something's wrong. Is there something, like, am I suffering from a brain damage or something? Because it felt like it was internal, but at the same time it felt like it was external. Like somebody just shook you, or shook your head, or touched your hair, something like that. But it was a mighty force. So I wake up and I remember just everything was so dark and black, pitch black. And I was like, okay, I probably died. Like, that's what I said. I was like, okay, I think I'm dead now, because what's going on here? Everything is so dark. And I started just weeping. I'm like, okay, this must feel like separation from everything. And all of a sudden, I go back to sleep. I don't know how I fell back to sleep, but I go back to sleep and I'm just laying there, and then I wake up and I finally see the light. I'm like, okay, I'm still alive. That must be nice. And I spread the message, and I tell my pastor what had going on during the night. And I tell the pastor that, okay, as I was sleeping, I felt a mighty force grabbing my head. I don't know what was it, but it felt very powerful. Very powerful. I almost felt like something was choking the life out of me. But I woke up and everything was pitch black. But here I am talking to you. Seemed like it didn't really hurt me or kill me. And my pastor is like, you know what, son? I think you've just experienced the hand of God. And in my mind, I'm like, the hand of God? Like God? Like the Almighty One? And it was like, yes, you've experienced the hand of God. And I don't know why, but that's what you felt during that night. And that stuck to me, because I was like, okay, what's going on, man? Like, 1 minute I'm like dying and I don't feel like myself. And the other, like right now, I'm feeling the hand of God. Am I getting healed or something like that? And this is this is a very life changing moment, because the hand of God is powerful. We can see it in through our scriptures that the hand of God, when the hand of God goes after you, there's something that shifts. And we can see throughout scripture there are people that have been just touched by God and everything changed in their lives. I don't know who I can recall, but there is Moses in the Bible that was talking face to face with them, you know, and Joshua that says God will go before you, you don't have to fear anything. There's Isaiah that says that God holds you by your right hand and there's nothing to be feared. And we can see throughout Jesus' ministry what he was doing, healing people, by touching people, by raising the dead, healing the blind, and all that. And all that stuff just resonating. I'm like, the same God just touched me? Even today, like when I think about it, it's still amazing. And I'm like, the Almighty One touched me. But why? That was my question. Why me? Why did he touch me? And why at that particular moment did he grab me? Everything started connecting after another revelation came about. And my pastor said, I saw you in a deep pit and something pulled you out of that pit. And then I was like, oh. And he said, there was a hand that pulled you out of the pit. So that was the hand of God pulling me. And now I'm like, okay. It felt like something was sucking me up, like sucking you up out of something. And that's how it felt. And I'm forever grateful, because what happens in the spiritual, we don't know. We can't see it. But there's so much that happens in the spiritual. I was having a conversation with a coworker last time, and he was like, Jonathan, you're so spiritual and stuff like that. And I looked at him and I say, the world is spiritual. You just choose to ignore it. Everything that happened is so spiritual. And us right here in the visible, everything that happened in the spiritual is invisible and we can see it, but us in the visible, we choose to ignore it. We just choose to go by what we see. And the Bible says we walk not by sight, but we walk by faith. And that's where everything happens. Everything happens in the invisible. What is invisible lasts forever. And I think people need to start paying attention to that. And they choose to ignore the spiritual, but the spiritual is a big factor in our lives. And whether you are anywhere, everything you do has something to do with the spiritual. And that's what happened. That's what shifted everything. And that was the beginning of my healing. Even though in the visible, in the natural, in my everyday lives, nothing was changing, but there was a big shift in the spiritual that started to catch up with me later on. And I'm still feeling it right now, today, 2025. And mind you, that happened in 2021. And things are still moving. And I can testify that things are still moving. Everything's being rewired to what God intended. And even though I was in the pit, the Lord grabbed me out of that pit and put me on a high rock where His presence go before me. and I'm forever grateful. I'm glad because if it wasn't for him, I don't know who would have do something like that for me. I was lost, but now I'm found. That's why they call it Amazing Grace. Thank you guys for listening to the episode. I'm glad you guys are tuning in, and I pray you guys are safe and sound, and that the Lord will be with you all.